us one. Just give us a...
Hi everyone!
Hi!
I'm Billy.
I'm Helen.
And we're the two sisters behind Kouppa, and we're so happy to be with you today, again, on Greek Orthodox Moms, and so excited to have been asked to share another live video. We were a little bit worried about making it out on time, so come over here and see what's been happening in Montreal the past few days. Can you see all the snow? There's snow everywhere.
And it's very cold.
And if you've been wondering if you're going to get snow, you're probably not, because we got it all. So for those of you who don't know what Kouppa is, we started our blog about a year ago in order to be able to share our parents' traditional Greek recipes. Do you have a picture of Mamba?
Yes.
So we've been, as you probably know, a lot of Greek parents don't have actual recipes, so we have been...
So these are our parents.
Yeah, they're cute.
The stars of Kouppa.
So we've been cooking with them and documenting their recipes and taking notes and helpful hints and sharing them on our blog. And now we're very, very excited today to share one of their special recipes with all of you.
Christmas is coming, so we thought it would be a perfect opportunity to share their Greek Melomakarona recipe. It's a Greek cookie, and it's also called finikia. So depending on which area of Greece you're from, you might either call it finikia or you might call it Melomakarona. It's actually the same cookie, but it just depends on where you're from.
And they're perfect for this time of year if you're partaking in the nativity fast, because they are nistissima. They have no eggs, they have no dairy. We used to call them vegan, but we've been corrected, so politely corrected by vegans who told us that in fact vegans don't often use honey.
Right.
We didn't know that. So they're not vegan.
Now we know.
But we're going to get started to share our parents' recipes. So
yes.
Our parents usually mix this dough by hand, and so that's how we're going to proceed today. We're going to show you how they mix it by hand. If you do have a mixer, however, you're more than welcome to use it. It works just as well. But given that we're on camera, we thought it'll be quieter if we use our hands. Anyways.
So we're going to start by preheating our oven to 375 degrees. We're not going to, but that's what you should do. That's the first step.
Because we've already baked cookies.
And we don't want them to burn. So the next step is you take a big bowl, because there's going to be a lot of yummy things going in here. So this is a good sized bowl, and it's festive too.
Yeah, it's a great sized bowl. So the first thing that we can add is some orange zest. So we just want to show you the way that we prepare our orange zest. We have a little contraption like this, which is super easy to use, and you wash your orange first, and then you just kind of use the instrument, I don't know what this is called, I think it's probably called a zester. Zester, yeah. To peel the orange zest. Now, what you'll notice though is if you do it the way I kind of do, you probably can do it a different way, you get very long strands of orange zest. These are too long to keep in your recipe. They're very, very long. So after you zest the whole orange, you can use a sharp knife to chop it up, to make it into small pieces, which is what we've done here.
So we have 1 tablespoon of orange zest. It's gonna go into our big bowl. To that, we're going to add freshly squeezed orange juice. Now this is almost complete. I just wanted to show you how we squeeze it out. You can definitely use store-bought orange juice, but we prefer the freshly squeezed one because it just adds a little bit more flavor, and it just also reminds us of when our parents used to squeeze freshly squeezed oranges when we were little. It was such a treat.
It was such a treat. I don't think I've ever squeezed freshly squeezed juice for my kids.
Yeah, you haven't.
Oh.
I haven't either.
That's my daughter who's filming. She's darling.
So we put the orange juice in here, and
next we're gonna add
we're gonna put the vegetable oil.
Okay, so the vegetable oil, this is 3 cups of vegetable oil. Believe us, I was supposed to bring a measuring cup from my home in order to put it in, and I forgot. So we measured it out separately. This is 3 cups of vegetable oil. So it sounds like a lot of oil. And in fact, if any of you have gone to our site and seen the recipe previous to today, you will have noticed that the original amount of oil called for was more. We did find, however, that some people were having a hard time really incorporating the oil into the dough when they were mixing by hand. So we've reworked the recipe. It's a little bit of a tweak on the original. We've cut the oil down to 3 cups. Still a lot, but remember this recipe is going to make about 100 Melomakarona, and it works really, really well. So we're saving some calories too. And that's never a bad
this way
thing.
we could eat more cookies.
Eat more cookies.
And so to that, we're going to add honey, 3 tablespoons of honey. This is a little bit different than other recipes because most recipes don't incorporate honey into their mixture. So there goes the honey. And then we have 1/3 cup cognac.
You should taste the cognac before you add it.
You don't have to, we're just joking.
It's perfect.
But if you don't want to use any alcohol in your cookies, you can just replace it with the equal amount of orange juice. So then we have the cognac. And then we're going to put the sugar. It's 1 cup of sugar.
And if anyone wants the exact measurements, if you're not catching it, or if we forget to mention the exact measurements on something, you can just visit the site. Everything is written there.
Okay, now you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so these are the walnuts that we have crushed ourselves. I'm just going to put some in my hand so you can see kind of the size and consistency. So you can certainly buy pre-cut or crushed walnuts, but we think it's a bit of an expense for nothing. If you buy whole walnuts that you crush yourselves, either with a sharp knife or a small food processor, you could do that very, very easily. Oh yes, or I had to show you this. Has anyone seen this? We're not getting paid for this, it's not advertisement. But this is like a slap chop. So this, when my youngest daughter was about 6 years old, she saw this on an infomercial and wanted it desperately. So she was gifted it as a birthday gift at about 6. And this became her favorite gift. For about 2 weeks, she was chopping everything in sight. And it works really well for chopping walnuts. So if you happen to have one of these, go ahead and use it. It's great.
Okay, so now we're going to put the chopped walnuts into the mixture. We're going to add some cinnamon, ground cloves, and at this point, we will also start adding the flour.
But before we do that, we're going to give this a good mix with a rubber spatula.
Or a wooden spoon.
Or a wooden spoon. Or anything you might have handy. It's all good.
Yes, it is.
Dimitra, who complains that she's never had freshly squeezed orange juice by her mother, come show the people the bowl. So it looks kind of like a gloopy mess, but this is just to get things started.
So in this bowl, we have already sifted flour. So we're going to add 3 cups of sifted flour in this mixture.
So someone just is wondering what we're making. We are making Melomakarona, just in time for Christmas.
Greek Christmas cookies. So this is 3 cups of sifted flour. To that, we're going to sift baking powder or baking soda, or both. Yeah, you can just squeeze it out there.
If you have one of those fancy little sifters, that works too.
Yep. And here we go.
There you go.
So we already added 3 cups of flour. The total for the recipe is about 8 cups.
So now with your spoon, you can start mixing.
We'll start it off with a spoon, but then we're gonna continue with our hands because it's just easier that way.
And it's more fun that way.
Yes, so it gets everywhere here. So we're just going to use our hands and we're gonna start just mixing it all together.
And while Helen is doing that, I'm going to slowly add the rest of the flour. So there's already 3 cups in there. You've measured this out, it's 8 cups?
Well, no, I put maybe more than 8 cups, but I wanted to make sure we had enough.
It's a good thing I asked.
Yes.
Okay, so this is 4.
Now the important thing about this is you need to mix really, really well. If not, the oil will separate.
5.
So keep mixing. It's going to take a few minutes. And at the end, it's almost like you're going to be kneading it like bread.
6. And different flours have different consistencies. So we tend to, end up using 8 cups of flour for this mixture, but you might, use 7.5, you might use, 8.5. So the last few cups of flour go a little bit slowly. This is 7.
Mm-hmm. See, I already feel it starting to thicken up.
And when all of the flour is in there, Helen's actually going to start kneading it, almost as though she's making bread.
Yeah. And if you don't shake them right away, you're going to see the oil separating, which is fine. You just have to keep mixing it.
So that's 8. And we'll see if we need more. We probably won't, but we'll see. You're making a mess.
I know, but it's lots of fun.
So while Helen is continuing to do that, you're doing a fine job.
Oh, yes.
We thought we would show you something kind of neat related to our family. So when we were posting this recipe, actually when we were first making this recipe with our parents to post, we were talking about the ingredients and the fact that the melomakarona gets soaked in honey after they're baked. And our mother started talking to us about her family and how her family were beekeepers, in fact. So in the village where she was raised, her family owned a grain mill and they kept bees. And so breakfast every morning was, a fresh slice of bread from the flour that they, ground up themselves, slathered with a lot of honey. And they would sell the honey and they would sell the flour, and the extra beeswax that resulted from the honey making, they would use to make candles for the church. So they would donate them to the church. And when our mother was about 20 years old and decided to board a ship and leave Greece and come to Canada all by herself, she was quite the pioneer. Her father gifted her this. So this is a piece of beeswax from their bees. And he gave it to her for good luck and to remind her of her heritage and where she came from. So we had never actually seen this. And when she was speaking to us, she kind of got up very casually, went into her room and came back with this, and we're like, what? And then she gifted it to us, which is very special. If you could smell it, which you can't, it smells like honey. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So we thought we'd share that with you because the kneading takes a while.
Okay, so but I think in general it's mostly done. Dimitri, can you come show it? So look at the consistency. It's still greasy, a little bit greasy, which is normal, but you want it to be like this. It handles well. It doesn't stick on my fingers. And you can shape it. Now it's perfect for shaping. So now we're going to start shaping some melomakarona.
So
I'm going to bring a tray over.
Okay, you bring a tray, and what I'm going to do is show you what we use to shape our melomakarona. This is, I think it's an ice cream scooper or a meatball maker, I'm not sure.
Which I didn't have ready.
Oh, she didn't have the baking tray ready. Take note, friends. I brought this. I forgot the measuring cup, but I did bring this.
And I don't have the parchment paper ready, but
okay,
line it with
there's parchment paper, pretend. So this is great because this is about 1 tablespoon's worth of volume, and if you have one of these, you very easily can scoop up the dough, plop it in your washed hands, of course, and you can make some if you want, and you basically knead it in your hand. This is going to make sure that your melomakarona are smooth. You make a ball like so, and then what you want to do is make like a log or an oval shape. So the easiest way to do that is just to run, I should have manicured my fingers, like that. And what I like to do, and what we like to do is, because we want the melomakarona all to be pretty much the same size, we use the palm of our hand as a guide. So we're going to roll it out so that it fits the palm of our hand. And once we do that, we set it on the parchment lined baking sheet. So we'll each make maybe a couple more just to show you.
Flatten it out.
And then once we've filled our tray, we're going to flatten them out a little bit. So leave about 1 inch or 2 of space between each cookie. And once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty fast, which is good because this is a lot of dough.
And you should have a lot of people helping you. Little hands.
Like, your children if you have them. Okay. So once you fill your tray, we're not going to fill it right now. You take the back of your hand and you just gently press down to flatten them a little bit. And you're going to end up with dough that is about a centimeter and a half thick. Once that's done, you take a fork, it's very fancy, and you make kind of these little designs in your Melomakarona. So the reason you do that is because once they are baked and soaked in honey, you're going to cover them with walnuts and sesame seeds. This maybe helps it stick on. I'm not really sure. Yeah. But if you like to eat them without the honey and walnut coating, they kind of look a little bit prettier when this is done. So just do it. It doesn't take any time.
So then we're going to take this tray, we're going to put it in the oven at 375 degrees, middle rack, for about 10 to 12 minutes. After 10 minutes, just take them out, check them. If they're golden brown on top and golden at the bottom, they're ready to go. So we are not going to wait 10 minutes.
This is like a real cooking show. Look at this. Ta-da! Cookies.
We have cookies ready.
So this is what your Melomakarona should look like once they are baked. You'll see that they have expanded a little bit, not too much. And they're a nice golden brown on top, a little bit around the edges, and a little darker brown, but certainly not burnt at the bottom. You're going to let them rest on your baking tray for about a minute, and then you're going to carefully transfer them to a cooling rack. They need to cool completely.
Because we're going to put them in hot syrup.
Yes.
There's other recipes where you take them hot and put them in cold syrup. We do the reverse.
Yeah, so these are already fully cooled because they were baked yesterday. So that's good. So we're going to show you now how we're going to soak our cookies.
So we have our sauce pot here. We're going to put 1 cup of honey. Our parents only use honey for their syrup. Honey and a little bit of water. There's other recipes which call for sugar, but they prefer to just use honey, which is just fine for us.
The other thing is that because the syrup is honey only, you can really change the flavor of your Melomakarona by the type of honey that you choose. So you can get, a thyme flavored honey, or a wild honey, or an orange blossom honey, and all of those will give a unique flavor to your Melomakarona, which is really kind of like an added bonus.
Right.
The sauce pot that you choose, try to find a sauce pot that's not so large, but big enough to fit maybe 3 to 4 cookies at a time. That's going to make it easier to kind of move things along, but it's also going to give you enough depth in the honey that coating the cookies is going to be, relatively easy.
And the 1 cup of honey will coat about 25 cookies. Our recipes are for about 100 cookies. So just keep in mind the 1 cup of honey is for 25 cookies. And you don't have to melosi them all at once. For example, these stay perfectly well in the fridge for several weeks. And you only, put them in the honey mixture as you need them. If you're out visiting, or if you bring some to guests, or if you have people coming over and you want to do 20, do them the day before, and they just it's so much nicer at that point.
Yeah. The other thing you could do is make your dough and keep your dough in the fridge for several days. There's nothing in there that spoils, right? There's no eggs, there's no milk, so it keeps really, really well. So that's another way you can save a little bit of time during this busy holiday season.
And we know people that just like to eat the cookies just like that. They're delicious.
Delicious like this.
So now we're just waiting for the honey to liquefy. Once it liquefies, we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of boiling water. See, it's almost done. Once it starts boiling, you're going to immediately reduce the heat to very low. We don't want to burn the honey.
So what else can we talk about while we're waiting for this to happen?
I don't know.
How was your day today?
It was so busy.
Mine too was so busy. Oh my God.
Trying to do a day job as well,
I know, it gets in the way. We hope you all had a good day.
Yes.
And that you're all going to have a great evening. Or maybe it's day where you are right now. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? So it's almost time.
Yeah. Dimitri, do you want to come and show the nice people? So you can see the honey went from being really thick to being almost watery. Almost.
Okay. Should we add the honey now?
Well, let me see. Yeah, I think that now we can...
I'm going to reduce it. I don't want to burn it.
Now we're going to remove the whisk, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of water that has been boiled. Be careful when you do this, because it could cause a little bit of like foaming to happen in your honey. It didn't this time, but if your honey is hot enough, that's what will happen. And now we're just going to continue to cook this and stir it. Now the reason for putting the water in with the honey, I have no idea, but there's a reason. We don't know what it is. Maybe because, yeah, maybe because you can, and it kind of, I don't know.
Maybe just,
or maybe it keeps
a little bit.
Maybe, yeah. In any case, it works beautifully. So,
yeah.
So we suggest you do it.
So while we're waiting for that to become a little bit more liquid, what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the platter of where we're going to put the honey-soaked cookies. So this is our mixture that you're going to top on top of the cookies. It's a mixture of ground walnuts and sesame seeds. So we're going to take a little bit of it and we're just going to sprinkle it on the platter. As they come out of the honey, they're going to sit on here. So the bottoms of the cookies will actually have some of this nice crunchy mixture as well, which makes it so nice.
Yeah. So we are ready to start dipping our cookies into the mixture. So I'm just going to take, we find it easiest to use a slotted spoon. So this one's really great because it's not very big, but it does have the little holes so that some of the excess syrup can drain out. And another spoon just to help kind of guide the cookie. And I'm going to put about 4 cookies in at a time. Now our parents soak the cookies for about 30 to 45 seconds. I can actually fit another one in here. You can see that they're sort of floating on top. So every once in a while, you're gonna press down to make sure that the cookies get fully submerged in the syrup. These are very hearty cookies. I've been reading some posts recently, people, you know, really distressed that their Melomakarona are falling apart when they put them in the syrup, wondering if you should add semolina. And some people say, oh yes, you must add semolina to your mixture because that way your cookies won't, you know, fall apart in the syrup. We don't have that problem with this recipe. I'm sure the semolina is delicious, but these cookies are really very crunchy on the outside and very, very tender on the inside, which means that you can soak them even longer than 45 minutes if you want to, and they really will not disintegrate.
Yeah, depending how sweet you want it.
Yeah. The key is also not to have your honey at a rolling boil because that pressure might do something to your cookies, and you don't need to do that.
But it's just nice and hot now. It's not boiling.
So you'll see that the cookies have been fully soaked. If you want to, you could flip them over. They're very forgiving, these cookies. So when enough time has passed, you start to remove them carefully.
I'll turn off the heat now.
We're not going to do all of them, so this was just to show you.
So you're going to place them on this platter?
Yeah, so I'm draining the cookie, I'm placing it on the platter.
And these are such a great gift. Wrap them up, put them on a nice platter.
Oh, I made a mess, sorry.
They look delicious.
They smell great.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing this by yourself, right after you take out the cookies, what you can do is put some more cookies in the pot, and then while you have them in the honey initially, you start doing what Helen is doing right now.
I'll just sprinkle some of the mixture. This is ground walnuts, or finely chopped walnuts, and sesame seeds. And the honey will make them stick to the cookie.
So you do want to do that part quite soon after you've taken your Melomakarona out of the honey.
I love this mixture.
I know it's good, right? I bet it would be good on yogurt too.
Yeah.
So after your cookies have cooled, because you don't want to burn yourself, our parents really always have served Melomakarona in little cupcake holders. It was years before we realized that things like cupcakes existed, right? Like our parents never made cupcakes.
Exactly.
So when we saw these in the store holding a cupcake, we were like, what? We thought they were for Melomakarona and Kouppa, but...
So you can just place them. They're a little bit hot still. I'll let them cool a little bit more, but it's just to show you how pretty they look.
And it makes it easier to eat them this way.
Yeah. That's it.
And there you have it. So I'm just going to take these last cookies out of the pot because I put them in not really thinking. I'm going to give them a last turn. But just to show you how you can kind of put them in there and forget about it for a little while. Nothing is going to happen to these cookies. And you know, what we would suggest is actually you soak a few in honey for, I don't know, 35, 40 seconds. Taste one after it's cold and see, is that enough syrup for you? Or do you want them to be soaking a little bit longer? And you can make adjustments to suit your taste.
There's no rules, really.
I mean, there's some rules, but not really that many.
There you go.
And there, well, Helen, I've made a huge mess. This is Helen's kitchen, and it's really messy now. Thanks, Dimitra.
You're welcome.
So there you have it. Let's bring them over here because they're so, well, pretty.
Delicious.
And we're gonna cover the mess Helen made. Ta-da! So there you have it. We hope that you've enjoyed our live video. We hope that you give the Melomakarona recipe a try. We really do think you'll like it, and if you've never made these cookies before, this is a recipe that you really can't mess up.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. So thank you again to Irene and the other administrators of Greek Orthodox Moms for having us and allowing us to be part of your wonderful page. It was a lot of fun.
Merry Christmas.
Καλά Χριστούγεννα.
All the best to you guys.
See you soon.